You got their Bibles. We got Bibles with them? I'm going to turn myself down a bit. You all can hear me, right?
No.
Yeah.
Cool. I can hear myself way too much. What'd you say? Alrighty. We're jumping into week 2 of Close Enough to Miss It. Last week, for those who weren't here, we started a series. This was an idea that kind of came over me a couple weeks ago to start, and that is to look into Scripture that I think is very often overlooked. It's Scripture that I think we hear a lot, we memorize a lot, maybe it gets brought up on Sunday mornings a lot even, and we have this tendency to hear it and then just kind of let it shoot right over our heads. Like, for example, we come into church on a Sunday morning and the pastor says, hey, we're going to talk about Jonah today, right? A story that if you grew up in church, you've probably heard that story a time or two. If you didn't, that's okay. That's all right. No shame. Or he says, hey, we're going to talk about the prodigal child. And you're like, yo, I've heard this one a million times. And you might not say that to yourself even. You might just sit there and subconsciously just not pay attention at all, because the common reaction in your brain, in your heart, is just, I know this one, and there's nothing else for me. I've already heard it. I've seen the VeggieTales movie already. Like, we're good, right? We're good. Mr. Kevin, could you get me a water in the back, please? They're up in that black cabinet. I'm going to need a water here. But today we're going to be in James 4:12. Last week we were in Hebrews 4:12. We're going to be in James 4:8 today. Sorry, I think I said the wrong one. James 4:8 this week. And so I'm going to give you time to get there. The Epistle of James, chapter 4, verse 8 is where we're going to be today. Let's go together in prayer. Lord, thank you for this opportunity to stand here and just to worship you, be a part of Grace Found tonight. Lord, thank you for all the people that are here that glorify and honor you. God, thank you for the hearts that are here to listen. And so, Lord, I pray that you do exactly that. You open hearts tonight. You make them receptive of your word. Lord, I pray that it does not go over heads in any way, but Lord, I pray that you land it exactly where it needs to be. And so, Lord, do what only you can do, just like my brother prayed already. Put me on like a glove and do what only you can do. And I pray these things in your name. Amen. So we all got Bibles? We all got notes, right? Let's do it. So in the midst of writing this series, I realized something. I realized that you can be really close to something and still not actually have it, like your phone, right? There are times where you're walking around the house, you're stressed out, you're flipping couch cushions trying to find it, checking the kitchen, you're retracing all your steps, and you cannot find it no matter what you do. Thank you. You're like, man, it's over. Like, my phone's gone. You been there before? Anybody? Just me? Okay. Well, cool. Glad to see that you guys aren't glued to your phones. That's awesome. But hey, it's really easy to feel super close to something and feel like you've got it, but then you're like not actually using it. And so you weren't connected. You weren't aware. And I think a lot of us can do that same thing with God through certain seasons of life. We're around Him. We're in the youth room. You know, we show up at church on Sunday. We know the songs. We know the verses. We got the language down, the holy things to say. Oh, bless you. Have a blessed day, right? We know them. We got them. But we're not actually close to Him. We're just close enough to where it feels like we are. We can kind of, we can look like we are. And we can even lie to ourselves and say that we are. And that's a really dangerous place to be. And so that's where kind of the heart of this message or this series comes from, because you can be really close enough, or you can be really close to God and, close enough to recognize Him, but not quite close enough to catch exactly what He's telling you or follow exactly where He's directing you in life. And so you still miss Him completely. And so let's look at James chapter 4, verse 8. It says this: draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. Let me read that again. Draw near to God, and He will draw near to you. Cleanse your hands, you sinners, and purify your hearts, you double-minded. let's understand the text. Just like last week, and for those who weren't here, we're going to break down this text, each little line that has significance. Let me tell you right now, the Bible is full of significance. You cannot read the Bible, read a single sentence, read a single word, and it actually not mean anything. It's like, oh, maybe it's just filler. That's not true. Every single word in the Bible is there. The word is inspired by God, as 2 Timothy tells us. So let's jump into it. The first thing we see here, draw near to God. Draw near to God. This is an invitation, but it's also a command. God isn't forcing closeness. He is offering it. That means that the distance from God, hear this out. Maybe some of you need to hear this. Distance from God is never on him. Like sometimes we like to walk through life and be like, oh, I think God's just distancing himself from me. Well, let me just tell you right now, it's not his fault that you feel distant from God. It's always on us. And here's what's crazy. Most people don't wake up one day and just decide, I'm going to walk away from God. They don't. They drift. Slowly, quietly, unnoticeably. You don't just drift overnight. It's not just you wake up the next morning and your heart is completely turned away from God. You drift over time. You stop praying like you used to. You stop reading your Bible like you used to. You quit paying attention in messages like you used to. Conviction gets quieter. Sin gets easier. And before you know it, you're not running from God, but you're not close either. You're actually really just nearby. Like he's just kind of there. What's the verse go on to say? It says, draw near to God, and then the second part, this is the part we really like, and he will draw near to you. This isn't God playing hard to get. This is a promise. And that promise is this: God responds to pursuit every time. Not perfection, pursuit. You take a step, he meets you there. You lean in, he's already moving towards you. But here's what we miss. God's nearness isn't something we assume, it's something we experience through pursuit. Through searching for him, through prayer, asking him to show up in our lives. Let me break this down even more for you. It's something. If something is said in the Bible, like I talked about the significance, if something is said in the Bible, it's because God wanted you to know that he is very serious. If something is repeated in the Bible, it's because God wanted you to know that he is that much more serious. And listen, there are around 100 different passages in the Bible that describe God responding to our pursuit of him. Even more if you broaden that spectrum to deliverance and salvation. So what I'm trying to say is this: God doesn't stay quiet when we draw near to him. That promise, draw near to God and he'll draw near to you, that's serious. Draw near to God and he'll draw near to you. Then it goes on to say this: cleanse your hands and purify your hearts. Cleanse your hands and purify your hearts. Now this is where it gets uncomfortable, because closeness to God isn't just emotional, it's transformational. Let me say that again. Closeness to God is not just emotional, it's transformational. You don't draw near to God and stay the same. And if you do, if you're telling yourself, I'm getting closer to God, but nothing's changing, you're not really drawing near to him. You're drawing near to the idea of him. You don't draw near to God and stay the same. Sin and closeness cannot coexist comfortably. Sin and closeness cannot coexist comfortably. So what does James say? He says, clean your hands. That's your actions. Clean your hands, your actions. Making sure that the things that you're doing, you're actively doing, those are now reflecting God. Sometimes to draw near to God, you have to drop things you used to do. Sometimes to draw near to God, you have to start doing things you didn't used to do. Actually, oftentimes you have to quit things that you used to do and start doing things you never did. Purify your hearts. In other words, your motives. your thoughts. This connects directly to what we learned last week in Hebrews 4:12, because the word doesn't just inform you, it exposes you. And when it exposes you, you have a decision. Either you ignore it, or you let it change you. You let it be transformational. I heard this quote once. I'm not even sure who it was, so I can't say who said it, but I put it in quotes in my notes. I think it was a pastor. He said, "When I started following Jesus, I didn't just stop sinning right away, but I definitely didn't feel the same way about doing it." As you draw near to God, as you get closer to God, this doesn't just mean that all of a sudden sin disappears. And so don't allow yourself to get defeated and say, you know what, I guess I just can't draw near to God because I'm going to church, I'm reading the Bible, I've got I Know a Name on the back of my head. I could sing that song all day long, but for some reason I keep sinning. But realize, does the sin feel the same way? Or does it discourage you that you're doing it? If it feels the same way, then yeah, the closeness probably isn't there. But if you're sinning and it is hurting you, you're like, yo, this just doesn't feel good, and you're allowing it to destroy you, back up a little bit. What was the initial feeling when you sinned? It was a little bit of sorrow. Maybe you feel like you betrayed God. That's the conviction setting in. Now let that work in you. Here's where I think we miss it. We've turned being close to God into a feeling instead of a reality. I think I have a slide for this. We've turned being close to God into a feeling instead of a reality. It's really easy to say, I feel close to God at winter retreat. I feel close to Him at camp. I feel close to Him during worship. Or I feel close when life is getting good, when things are working out for me. I can feel God's presence all up in this place, right? But closeness to God was never meant to be seasonal. This isn't something we can only feel at camp, only feel during worship. It's supposed to be daily, consistent, intentional. Because if you only feel close to God in moments, what happens when that moment ends? Are we just not close to God anymore? Or were you relying on the feeling? You start chasing feelings instead of pursuing Him. And listen, feelings aren't bad, but they're terrible leaders. Let me say that again. Feelings aren't bad, but they are terrible leaders. Because there will be days where you don't feel anything, and your relationship if your relationship with God is built on feelings, you'll assume that He's distant. When in reality, you just stopped drawing near. We say it like this: you don't accidentally grow closer to God, but you can absolutely accidentally drift away. You don't accidentally grow closer to God, but you can absolutely accidentally drift away. Some of you aren't far from God in location, you're far from Him in attention. You're distracted, you're numb, you're going through motions, you're here, but your heart isn't. And that's what makes this series so important, because you can sit in church every week and hear the truth every week and nod your head up and down every time I say something that might hit a little bit, but still miss God. Not because He moved, but because you stopped pursuing. So I've got some action steps for you. Because it's one thing for me to say all this, it's another thing for me to give you action steps to go throughout your week with this. So how do we actually draw near? Because if we leave this as just a good message, then we walk out the same, right? Closeness to God isn't built on intention, it's built on action. You can want to be close to God, it's whether you choose to do it or not. And so number one for our action steps, be intentional with your time with God. Be intentional with your time with God. Not random. Don't let it be if I get around to it. Or not when I feel spiritual. So Sunday night after the worship set and Jared talks, we had our discussion group, then you know what? I'll go home and I'll read my notes. You have to actually set that time. You have to protect it. That's the other thing. Because what isn't scheduled usually isn't sustained. I've got a really good friend that lives in Grand Rapids. He's also a pastor. And I have a notification on my phone that goes off every Thursday at 1:25 that says, call Chris. And so in 5 minutes, I call him. Every Thursday, me and him have a conversation. I have lived away from Chris, what's it been now, Sarah? Like 3 years? And up until just a couple months ago, we really didn't talk a whole lot, but we wanted to be intentional about talking ministry. He wanted to give me life experience because he's been doing it for 20 years. And so until we actually set the schedule, we actually made the phone notifications, we were intentional about meeting up over the phone, it never happened. We talked about it for like a year. We should really start doing this. We should really start talking. That same thing, we'll do that with God. God, I really need to start talking to you. God, I really need to sit down and write my studies. I really need to write my notes. I really need to go through your word. And unless we protect that commitment, it won't happen. Because I want to start doing that isn't good enough. God doesn't want. I want to start doing it. Because like my kid could come up to me like, hey Dad, I really want to start listening to you every time you tell me to do something. I'm going to be like, okay, do it. You don't have to tell me. Like, I'll see when you start listening. And I think God's waiting for you in that same way. Quit telling me you're going to do it and just do it. We don't accidentally grow closer to God. You don't just drift into prayer. You don't just stumble into the Word. You drift away, but you have to be intentional to draw near. And here's what we do. We give God our leftovers. At the end of the day, we're half asleep. We were literally just scrolling TikTok 5 minutes before, and then all of a sudden, all right, God, speak to me. Tell me something. And we wonder why we don't feel close. It's because closeness requires priority. If God is important, you don't just fit him in. You build your day around him. Even Jesus modeled this. He withdrew to pray. He stepped away from the world because he knew he needed to be with God. If Jesus made time, we don't have an excuse not to. So make it real. Set a time. Pick a place. There's nothing wrong with setting that reminder on your phone every day. 8:30 p.m. and 8:30 a.m. Maybe earlier because you guys go to school in the morning. 6 o'clock, I'm going to have an alarm go off. I'm going to wake up and I'm going to read the Bible. Some of you said, what? Trust me, the Lord died on the cross for you. You can wake up and read his word. It'll be okay. Set a time, pick a place, remove distractions. That's the biggest thing. That phone, shut it off. Don't use your phone Bible when you're trying to have intentional time with God, because there's something that my phone has that my Bible doesn't, and it's notifications. All right? The only notifications I get out of this are things that change my life. All right? The notifications I get on the screen are ones that just distract it. Set a time, pick a place, remove the distractions, because if it matters, you will schedule it. And if you don't schedule it, something else is just going to take its place. Number 2, respond to conviction immediately. Second action step. Respond to conviction immediately. This is the hard one. When God points something out, he puts his finger on something in your life, don't delay. Don't negotiate. Don't justify it. Don't say, I'll deal with this later, because later usually turns into never. Delayed obedience is still disobedience. And here's what happens. The longer you sit in conviction without responding, the quieter it gets. Like, oh, well, you know what? I don't really feel that bad about it anymore. That's because you just got good at ignoring. It's not because God stopped speaking to you. It's because you got used to ignoring him. And that's a dangerous place to be as well. Because conviction is one of the clearest signs that God is near you. It's him saying, I love you too much to leave you like this. So when he puts a finger on something in your life, your attitude, maybe it's a habit, maybe it's your words, maybe it's thoughts, that's not condemnation. That's an invitation to get closer to him. He's saying, I see it, and I have a solution for you. Every time you respond to conviction, you step closer to God. And every time you ignore it, you step further away. Closeness doesn't grow when you hear truth. It grows when you respond to it. Like I said, my child, I can tell her over and over again, hey, you need to go clean your room. And she can hear it. That's great. But what's she doing with it? Is she listening or is she just hearing? So when God tells you to go clean up something in your life, are you hearing it or are you actually listening to it? There's a big difference. Number 3, remove what creates distance. Remove what creates distance. You've got to be honest. What in your life is pulling you away from God? And this is a hard thing to point out because we don't want to admit that stuff. We're really good at saying, God, hey, change my speech, change my actions, change the way I live my life even. But we're really bad at saying, God, I want you to intrude in my brain for a moment. Because that's our safe place, right? That's the thing that nobody knows about. And we like to forget and tell ourselves that like nobody's in there. Well, guess what? There is somebody in there. The Lord sees it. What in your life is pulling you away from God? And don't just default to the obvious big sins, the big bangers that we know in our life that we can't get away from sometimes. Because not everything that creates distance is blatantly sinful. It's good to take care of those. Please, if you've got a big sin in your life, take care of it with God. But some things are just distracting. Sometimes it's just the phone. You're not even doing something bad on it. It's just the distraction that causes you to not have the intentional closeness with God. Maybe that's the thing that's distracting you. Maybe that's the thing that's creating distance. Some things are just numbing. Some things slowly pull your attention, your affection, your focus away from Him. And we justify those things because, well, they're not that bad, right? It's not a bad thing that I do this. But listen, it's not that bad has created distance in more lives than outright rebellion ever has. Because we keep things that don't look dangerous. We're really good at that. Even when they're making us distant. Paul says, I have the right to do anything, but not everything is beneficial. And so the question isn't just, is it wrong? The better question is it pulling me closer to God, or is it allowing me to drift further away? If it's creating distance, it's not worth keeping. And this is where it gets real, because drawing near to God will always require letting go of something else. It does. And I think we'll lie to ourselves and tell ourselves that, God can meet me right where I'm at. And I believe He can. That's just not how He wanted to do it. He said, listen, you are going to have to deny yourself. And that means the things we talked about last week. We have to separate soul and spirit. And guess what? The Word can do that. And that starts with being intentional in the Word, for the Word to call those things out. And then when He puts the finger on it and says, this is soul, this is spirit, you have to be willing to let go of soul and allow spirit to take over. Drawing near to God will always require letting go of something else. You don't get both. You don't get closeness with God and closeness with everything that's pulling you away from Him. At some point, you've got to choose. It's like trying to be in a relationship with two people. You're like, oh, that's weird. Trust me. That's the exact same thing. You're trying to love God and say, God, give me the benefits of being in a relationship with you, but then I still love this sin. And so what you do is you don't go to either one together. You don't bring sin to God and say, hey, sin's going to hang out here while I'm with you, but you also don't bring God to sin. And you know what I'm talking about. You've got that thing where you say, God, hold on just a second. It's not that bad. I'm just going to do this. But then I come to God. They live separate lives. We're trying to be in a relationship with both. God says it's time to deny that. If you do these things, if you make time for God, if you respond when He speaks, and you remove what pulls you away, you won't have to wonder if you're close to Him. You'll know. The conviction will set in. You'll feel His presence because He promised. He promised, I've got this on the slide, draw near to Him and He will draw near to you. That's a promise. That's an invitation, it's a command, and it's followed by a promise. Draw near to him, and he will draw near to you. Not draw near to him, and he might after a while, after he kind of picks and chooses, who's drawing near to me, who do I want to go to? No, it says if you draw near to him, he will draw near to you. Pray with me. God, thank you for